Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us for our webinar today, The Mobile Explosion, Trends, Challenges, and Solutions. I'm Emily Hatch with AVST Marketing, and today presenting we have Dick Reddy. He's our Senior Sales Engineer. Before we get started, I'd just like to give you a few quick reminders. One, the slides for this presentation will be available at the end, and you will see that in an email. We'll also be recording the presentation, and we'll send out the recording link at a later time. You can ask a question anytime during the webinar. Just go ahead and type your question into the question pane. And at the end of the webinar, for those who are not AVST resellers, you can go ahead and fill out a quick survey, and we will send you over a $10 Starbucks gift card. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Dick.
Oh, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on from where you are joining us. Thanks for coming along today to take a look at something that our experience in the marketplace and virtually any statistic that you look at really highlights the fact that everybody is more mobile today. There is technology just exploding out there, and it seems like 98% of the technology we see coming out today has to do with mobile something or other. And you know, what used to be something that people played around with on their own is now bringing itself into the enterprise environment, into the work environment. And it's becoming a real challenge for organizations to figure out how they're going to handle that. You know, and that's what we really want to take a look at today is some of the challenges involved in this mobile technology and incorporating it into your enterprise, along with the solutions that we have to offer to address some of those situations in the products that are offered from AVST. So let's jump right in there. First, taking a look at some of the trends we see in the marketplace. Obviously, you know, it's just exploding out there. Every day it seems like someone's coming out and advertising a new device, a new something or other, new tablets, things like that. Obviously, Apple made a lot of noise the other day with its new iPhone, and it's just really going strong. And we're really starting to see kind of a flip in. We're really in a change environment from traditional ways of addressing things to the newer ways of doing things. As you can see here, Gartner is taking a look at it, and whereas feature phones, meaning the telephone sitting on your desk off of your PBX, those you know, over the next few years, we're going to see you know, the mobile devices, the smartphones, tablets, things like that, really significantly exceeding even the traditional phones sitting on people's desks as people become more and more mobile. And even even from the PC side, whereas not too many years ago, you know, mobile devices, mobile OSs for smartphones was just a fraction of that for standard PCs. And over the next few years, we're anticipating a flip of that, so that the mobile OSs that are purchased are really going to start exceeding that of the standard PC operating systems. And that provides a lot of challenges to organizations on how they're going to address that, how they're going to take care of that. There's a lot of bring your own device. Many organizations that are allowing users to bring their own device to the office, and how do you incorporate those along with keeping security high, things like that. The trends that are seen in the smartphone and tablet industry, it's one of the things that I saw that I thought was fairly interesting in this is the gap between the Android devices and the Apple devices. In smartphones, it's a wide margin. If you just asked somebody, walking around, which device has more presence in the marketplace, I think most people would say the Apple devices have been. But that's not quite as true. Maybe maybe this green line here will the new iPhone will change the trajectory of that a little bit from a slight downward slump. But whatever type of operating system is on the devices themselves, your users are clamoring to use these types of devices and this type of technology as they become more mobile in the way that they do business. They're being forced to be more mobile because of reduction in force that we see and at many organizations over the last few years with the struggling economy. And then the IT staff has to take a look at that and say, boy, how are we going to get that? We have proprietary company corporate information. Do we want that information flowing to these devices that we have little or no control over? And how do you really address that? So let's take a look at what we have to offer here at AVST to help address some of those issues and really help to meld the mobility needs of customers and your users into the capabilities that we offer here at AVST. Now, the unified communications solutions available from AVST, traditionally the name of our product was Call Express. We now refer to it as the CX family of products, which really spreads a wide range across different sizes. But whichever products that you're looking at were really built on 4 primary piers here. And this is just a little background information on our solutions, and we'll look specifically at how these solutions fit into your mobile needs here in just a minute. Whether it's the traditional voicemail and call processing, looking at your diverse environment from a PBX standpoint, email environments, the changing of email environments from premise-based to cloud-based solutions, not only with email, but with many other business solutions, the ability to develop custom applications within the platform to address those unique needs that you have as an organization, and of course the mobility features that we have. And the unique thing about the CX product and the product from AVST is that it really doesn't matter what size your organization is. From small organizations, small businesses that may only have 20, 30, 40 employees, on up to huge, large organizations that have tens of thousands of and hundreds of thousands of users. The products that we offer span all of those line sizes, all of those user sizes. And in addition, there is absolutely no difference in the feature set available on the smallest system that we sell on up to the largest system. Our unique licensing that allows an a la carte type licensing means that there's no one-size-fits-all. You can pick and choose the features that you need to deploy to your users based on their specific requirements, which is fairly unique in the industry and really allows you to tailor the system to meet the needs of your specific individuals, knowing that many individuals have varying requirements for advanced applications, and having a system that allows you to tailor the configuration and the licensing of that system to meet the specific needs of your users can be a very beneficial thing to the enterprise. But today we're here to talk about mobility and the features and capabilities and applications available within the AVST solutions to meet the mobility needs of your particular users. So as you take a look at it, there are a lot of challenges that you face, not only from an operational side of the organization and actually supporting these devices, but also getting the information to those mobile users that aren't just sitting at their desk anymore, for 8 or 10 hours a day. They're out running around doing things, whether they're out of the office doing things or whether they're in the office but just mobile within the office. How do you get to them the things that they require to do the jobs that they need to do? With mobility, especially out of the office mobility, comes the challenges of, how do people use these mobile devices when they're traveling? Say, for example, driving from place to place. Do the mobile solutions that you're deploying, do they address the needs of those individuals? Because the last thing you need those people to do is to be, pushing buttons on a device or trying to type messages or texting. Those are very dangerous things to be doing. And the technologies that you deploy really need to address those requirements and those needs of the users themselves. We talked about the employee-owned devices. How are those incorporated into the organization? And we really here at AVST, the solutions that we offer really address those requirements in some very unique ways. Really taking a broad look at what the needs are of users and providing a strong feature set to address those needs. And once again, as we mentioned before, the way that the CX system is licensed is fairly unique, allowing you to deploy the licensing based on the requirements of your individual users, not necessarily on the doing a one-size-fits-all where everybody has to have mobile features and mobile capabilities. Where in fact, when you take a look at your organization, you see that you have groups of users and maybe large groups of users that come in, sit down at their desk, do their work for the day, and then leave. Do they really need mobile features and mobile capabilities, unified messaging, things like that? Maybe, maybe not. But having a system that allows you to deploy it based on your needs and your requirements and those of the users can be of great benefit to you. And that's what we'll take a look at each of these, the features and capabilities that we offer to support the requirements, the varying requirements, and really very important requirements of your users. Now, the thing about mobile users is that there's no single device or no single interface that will fit all of your mobile users. And that's an important thing to realize. Maybe you deploy something for an application for a smartphone. Well, there are many times where the smartphone is not the most logical or readily accessible device that is available to your users, and that's why within the CX product, within the AVST products, we not only address the smartphones, for example, but all of the other, many of the other different interfaces that users may need to utilize throughout the day, whether it's a voice interface, allowing them to call into the system and do whatever they need to do using spoken commands as opposed to having to push buttons on their telephone. Sometimes it's just racing through a hotel lobby or something and stopping at an internet kiosk and being able to get web access to the information that you need. The traditional email clients and how do we interact with those? Along with the mobile clients, we have mobile clients for Android and iPhones, also allowing web access from smartphones to many of the features of it just through a simple web browser without using the client. So AVST provides a broad range of interfaces, support for a broad range of interfaces, because we know that your users are not just using one device or one interface to access the information that they require. So when we getting started here, we're time for take our first poll of the day. So Emily, pass it over to you for that.
Okay, great. So we're just curious to know what smartphones your organization is using. If you can go ahead and take a quick second to vote. And, of course, you can pick more than one option as well. Okay, it looks like most everyone has voted. Okay, and so the results stick are about 80% with iPhones, 70% with Androids, 40% with BlackBerries, 25% with Windows, and then about 10% for other.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting mix. That's a good mix with what we have seen in the marketplace. Certainly, those statistics we saw before were not just business users, but personal users as well, with the Android taking such a high lead. But the Android devices certainly are right up there with the iPhones and really need to be addressed. It's going to be interesting to see where BlackBerry goes. Obviously, they used to own the marketplace, and now over the last few years, their market share has shrunk very significantly. It's going to be interesting to see where they go and where they end up over the next year or two. So for mobile users, really kind of the baseline starting for functionality to mobile users is unified messaging. And we really have had the most experience of any vendor out there delivering unified messaging solutions to the marketplace, delivering our first solution for unified messaging back in the early 90s. And as you take a look at many of the independent consulting firms, were really viewed by those analysts as having a best-of-breed solution for unified messaging. And that's really because of the flexibility that we offer to customers. What we have found with the breadth and depth of our experience in unified messaging is that there is no best way to do unified messaging. From a deployment standpoint, from support of particular email server or servers and environments, we give you a broad range of options when it comes to deploying and using unified messaging, whether it is the ability to support simultaneous integration to multiple email environments, and that can be very, very useful for organizations that maybe through mergers and acquisitions or especially with higher education, we see this, that there's multiple email servers operating within the environment at the same time. We were speaking with one university a year or two ago that had over 150 different email platforms on campus. Or whether it's that you have a number of different email platforms within your environment that you need to provide this functionality to, or whether you're in a transition period from a premise-based solution to a cloud-based solution, whether it's the Microsoft's Office 365 solution or Google's Gmail and Google Apps. We've seen a lot of interest in not really moving everything within the organization to the cloud solutions, but at least moving certain portions of those applications up there. And email is one of the first examples of that we see in the marketplace, because it allows, it gives the users much quicker access and much broader access from more and different interfaces, more in different locations to their email, and it really isolates the access to that information from any issues or problems that may be occurring within the enterprise itself and the applications and servers and network within the enterprise itself. It's supporting multiple systems simultaneously, giving you the option of where do you want the messages stored. Oftentimes when you think of unified messaging, the first thing that pops into your mind is taking the messages off of the UM server and moving them over onto the email server, and the messages live there. Well, there's a lot of organizations that have a real problem with that, and for all or for a portion of their users, from a confidentiality point of view, compliance with regulatory requirements, security. There's many organizations that don't want the messages for all of their users or maybe just selected users to reside on the email server. And that's why AVST supports the ability certainly to put the message over onto the email server, regardless of what email server that you have, but also to keep the message off of the email server for those users that require it. And that's been a very important aspect of the system, to be able to provide that delineation of security, compliance, confidentiality, discoverability, to be able to offer to our customers the ability to have separate message stores. And again, like most other things on the system, it's not an all-or-nothing arrangement. You can choose which users you want to have the messages on the email server and which messages you don't, while still providing full unified messaging to each one of those users. So the flexibility that we offer is really unrivaled in the industry, to be able to meet whatever your needs are, and the ability to change from one method of unified messaging to the other. It's assigned on a user-by-user basis, and all of the different storage and deployment options can be active simultaneously on the system. And the ability to change a user from one method of unified messaging to a different method of unified messaging is as simple as a couple clicks within their mailbox to make that change. It's the same license to do that, and it really gives you the flexibility that you need, not only to accommodate where you are today, but also to accommodate where you're going to be tomorrow. I mean, who knows what Congress is going to do with regulatory requirements and discoverability, things like that. Who knows where your organization is going to be within the next couple of years, and having a system that allows you to very easily change how you deploy unified messaging can be a tremendous benefit to the enterprise. Now, the challenge is obviously when you start talking about mobile devices and smartphones. There's a number of things that, especially with the bring your own device thrust, but also with company provided smartphones. How do you separate work from personal calls? Certainly, everybody that has a smartphone in their pocket gets both personal and work-related calls there if they're mobile employees. How do you separate those? Well, the mobile app that we have is an intuitive interface that really makes the device very simple to use, very easy to use, and allows for a clear delineation of the work call flow and access to information and personal calls coming in for the user. And that can be a tremendous benefit for the users themselves, to be able to distinguish that and determine for themselves which is more important and which one do they need to take care of as the calls are coming in. Our mobile client today runs natively on iPhones and Android devices. As you saw, the Android and the iPhone devices are close to the top today. We see other operating systems, the Windows, the Microsoft-based devices, things like that, depending on what happens with BlackBerry. As those start making a significant dent in the marketplace, we will certainly evaluate extending the mobile client to those devices. Today it's for iPhone and Android, and really contains a lot of features that allow the users to really be productive and not only be able to get calls and information connected to them, but allow them to make the intelligent decision based on where they are and what they're doing, how to handle those calls, not just have them all interrupting what they're doing. So let's take a look at many of these features and see how they might be beneficial to you within your enterprise. First is for taking care of incoming calls. Now, we have a number of features within the system that allow very flexible direction of incoming calls to any device that is appropriate for the user, whether it's their mobile device as you see here, or whether they're working from home and it's directed to their home phone, or they're working in the office and it's directed to a desk phone that they may be sitting at. We have tremendous flexibility in allowing calls to get connected to that user at whatever device or multiple devices that they have. Extensive find me, follow me type capabilities are available within the system. But once calls get connected to you, how do you handle them? What information is presented? As you can see here with the smartphone interface, and all of this information is also available to somebody that may be working in their home office and just picks up their home phone to answer the call. This is all presented just in a graphic environment. Notice we show who's calling, not only by their captured A and I, the caller ID information, or their name, depending on if we have access to that information from contacts or another employee within the enterprise, or their recorded name. You can just push the play button here and hear a recording of the name of the person calling you. So you can know who's calling before you're actually connected to the caller. And then we give you options on how to handle that call, whether it's to accept the call, reject the call, accept obviously cuts it through, reject the call, takes the caller back and just announces to them that you were not available, and then gives them options on what they want to do to leave you a message, maybe try somebody else, things like that. But the additional options really allow the user to be able to do something more than just say yes or no they want to take the call. For example, if somebody's calling them and they know that that person really needs to talk to somebody else, whether it's when they're on the phone, or whether they're just receiving the call, or while they are talking with the person that is calling them, they can transfer that call from their mobile device to someone else within the organization, within the enterprise, with just a couple of quick spoken commands, or in this case, push button, pushing on the options on their smartphone. Maybe they're receiving this call as they're walking back into the office, and they're going to be sitting at their desk in about 10 seconds. So instead of accepting the call, they can transfer the call to their desk phone. Acknowledge is a wonderful feature. Obviously, if you're not in a position to be able to take the call at the moment, maybe you're getting ready to walk into a meeting, you can certainly reject the call, and the caller will be given the option to do any number of things after that. But sometimes it would be really nice to be able to communicate something back to the caller without having to be connected directly to the caller themselves. And that's what the acknowledge feature allows you to do, to be able to, when you push the acknowledge button, the system will prompt you through recording a message. You will then disconnect from the system and go on your way, and the system will take that recorded message and deliver it back to the caller. So, for example, say you're getting ready to walk into a meeting and you know this is an important call, but you really can't take it right now. You can just select acknowledge and say, Jim, I'm getting ready to walk into a meeting. Sorry, I can't take your call right now, but I'll call you back in about an hour as soon as the meeting gets over. You just then disconnect and go on into your meeting. The system will come back and say that you were unavailable, but that you recorded a brief message to the caller, and it will play that message to them, which obviously gives them a lot more information to be able to make an intelligent decision on what they want to do next. And not only that, but the system then reminds you when you get out of the meeting that you did record that acknowledgement message to the caller, so that you don't run into the situation that happens to many people where they're in the middle of something and they tell someone they'll call them back in a half hour, and then a half hour goes by and they forget that they told that person they call them back. We don't let that happen. We remind you that you told the person that you called them back, and it gives you the ability to do that quickly. And then for those people that may be out driving from place to place, maybe your rep in Detroit is driving over to Kalamazoo for an appointment, and they know that the person is calling and is going to be giving them some detailed information, for example. They have the option, obviously, of pulling over and take notes on the call, or try and write notes down as they're driving, which is a terrible thing to do, quite obviously. But instead of doing that, they can just say accept and record, and the system will stay involved in the call, recording the conversation and placing it just as a new voice message in your mailbox. And then you can go back later on, listen to that recording, and transcribe any notes that you need. I've used that many times as I've been traveling around the country and driving from place to place to allow me to still remain productive as I'm driving, but not put myself in danger and not delay my arrival at the location that I'm coming to. So inbound calls, again, all of these options are available to you not only through the mobile client app, but also if you happen to be sitting at a landline telephone and you're answering the call from there, you're given these same options to be able to handle calls as they're coming in. Outbound calls are the same way from the device through the mobile client. It's very easy to be able to place outbound calls, whether it's from a call log that's maintained within the application of calls that had been directed to you, but you whether you answered them or didn't answer them, they'll be listed there from an address book, which would contain all of the other users on the system, but also in an Exchange and Lotus environment, give you access to your personal contacts as well to be able to make those choices. And or just dialing a telephone number from a keypad. Any of those methods are they give you the ability to make the call, place the call, which really highlights a unique feature of the system. If you have an extensive Find Me, Follow Me, and you're doing single number reach for callers calling in, it's very possible that you don't want the user, the person calling you, to be able to have your cell phone number. You want to maintain that single number reach because it gives you the ability to control where calls are directed to in order to reach you. You may want to keep your mobile number private and not have it sent out to business contacts. And other people, they don't want to be woken up at 10 o'clock at night by somebody calling for a business application. So protecting that cell phone number can be very important. And of course, the placing of the calls and the single number reach of calls coming in, but the placing of outgoing calls, that gives the number that is displayed is the main number of the organization to the person receiving that call, not your cell phone number. So if you decide that you want to place the call using one of the things we saw before, whether it's the address book or the call log or whatever, the actual number that is displayed on the person receiving the call is generally the main number for the organization, and not the number for your cell phone. So keeping that cell phone number private is very important to many individuals, and it also allows you to reinforce that separation of work calls and personal calls to the device. If the only people that may have your cell phone number are those people that may be directing personal calls to you as well. And then, of course, for your traveling people, especially those people that are driving, having hands-free access to all of this that we've been talking about so far, whether it's hands-free access to your messages through unified messaging, hands-free access to be able to respond to incoming calls, placing of outgoing calls, things like that, accessing your calendar, placing calls to your contacts, accessing your contacts to place calls to them, all through hands-free interface, especially for those users that are driving. Again, the last thing you want those users to have to do is to be pushing buttons on their cell phone in order to place calls, things like that, looking down at their calendar on their smartphone. All of those things are taking their eye off the road, which obviously is a very, very dangerous thing, and can add some, in certain situations, may add some significant liability to the enterprise itself, through having users have to be doing things without a speech interface and having to take their attention off of the driving, things like that. The hands-free capabilities are quite extensive on the system, and carry really no per-user licensing at all to provide this for your users as well on the AVST solutions. So we really have taken the lead at AVST in providing mobile solutions. I mean, all of the UC analysts out there, in looking at all the different manufacturers, they really say that there is no one manufacturer that really delivers everything that that customers are looking for, that enterprises like yours are looking for in the UC arena. And really, most all of them recommend today and for the foreseeable future that a single vendor solution probably is not the best for most enterprises. That really you need to be looking at a best of breeds solution, which means taking a look at different manufacturers that have really engineered their product to interact with other UC applications, so that you can really deliver the top-notch capabilities to your users without having to sacrifice the features and capabilities that you need. And the AVST products really provide that best-of-breed solution, whether it's enabling hands-free communication, delivering unified messaging, even though your environment is evolving and changing. And not only your environment, but also the regulations and compliance issues and security issues that you have that are changing all the time, that you need to comply with and support. The unified messaging deployment options and delivery options available on Call Express, on the CX product, the AVST family of products, is really unrivaled in its ability to support that. And the employee-owned mobile devices, and allowing your mobile users to securely use those devices and have access to the features and capabilities that they really need. So that's what we have to go through today. Emily, are there any questions that have popped up here? We'll turn it over to you.
Yep, there are some questions that we have. Sure. Okay, let me get to the first one. Okay, first question says, we have two UM8700 implementations, Canada and the U.S. We'd like to test the UM8700 mobile client, and we would like to know what is required to implement a test of the mobility server. Is this a service that can run on the UM8700, or do we need to place the mobility server in the DMS?
Yeah, so and this is kind of an implementation deployment question. I'll briefly touch on it, but that really needs to be, we probably should take that offline more, to talk a little bit more in depth about your specific situation. We encourage you to contact your dealer and be able to, and they'll engage us so that we can talk through those based on your specific environment. But if you're at version 8.2 or above, within your UM8700, then it's you already have some licenses for personal assistant, which are required for the mobile client usage. Mobile client is just downloaded from the particular app store of the device that you're using, whether it's an Android device or an Apple device, an iPhone. It's just a matter of setting it up within your environment, setting up the web server that acts as the mobile server, and a few things like that. But that question probably would be best addressed specifically to your environment and the deployment options that would be available to you within your specific environment. So I encourage you to get in touch with your supporting dealer, and they'll bring us in as needed to help you work through those questions.
Okay, great. Next question, and this question was asked a few times in a couple different ways, but and we went over it a little bit, but how do you separate the personal versus business calls through the mobile client? That's a good question. And the way we see this deployed in organizations that really want to do that, for example, here at AVST, we publish really two numbers out for people to contact us. We have two main offices here in the United States, one in Southern California and one up in the Seattle area. And you can, depending on which office somebody reports to, they give out the number for that office, the main number for that office, which is answered by the CX product, the CX system, and it simply asks them for the name of the person that they're looking for. And that way, the calls that come through to your mobile phone, to your smartphone,
are coming through either the mobile app or are just ringing to your device through our Find Me, Follow Me. We call that availability processing, and which allows you to, answer the call, take the call, reject the call, do all the options we talked about earlier in the presentation. But also the nice thing about it is, if you don't answer the call for whatever reason, if somebody calls your cell phone, it's always going to be answered either by you or by your cell phone voicemail. If you don't answer the call and select one of the options available, the system is not going to drop the call into your cell phone voicemail. And that's a little bit unique in the industry. Some systems, if the call is answered by voicemail, the system thinks it's completed the call and it transfers the call into your cell phone voicemail. Now you've got two different mailboxes to check for business communication. If we don't get a hold of you and you say you want to take the call, we're going to break that transfer down and pull the call back, and the call will remain within the CX environment, within the business environment. We're not going to drop the call into your cell phone voicemail through the applications we've talked about here, which means that when people call your cell phone directly, your spouse, somebody, family, friends, things like that, when they get forwarded, they'll be forwarded, say, into your cell phone voicemail. Also, there'll be a slightly different display on your phone giving you an indication that it's a personal call as opposed to a business call. Obviously, we saw some of the displays available with the mobile client. So it really, separating the two like that, and that can be, either through dialing the main number of the organization and having all calls answered by your CX system, your AVST system, or whether it's dialing your DID number at the office and not getting it there, but allowing the AVST system to pick it up and redirect the call to wherever you happen to be. And then the features of the mobile client, or even if you're not using the mobile client, the features that are available through our Find Me, Follow Me capabilities and availability processing really allows that separation to happen.
Okay, great. Next question. We have the AVST mobile client, but we don't receive the call handling options. Is this on a future release?
If you're using the mobile client, and make sure that you're updated with the latest version from the App Store. If you are not receiving, if it's not operating the way we described today, or that you're, in a way that you're not expecting, we would encourage you to engage your dealer and speak with tech support, because that's really the avenue to address issues of something that is not working properly. But if you, depending on how your system is configured, based on that, you should be able to receive all of those options. And it could be just a configuration issue within the user's mailbox that would preclude all of the options. Sometimes you can just see a portion of the options available to you and not all of them, and that generally is just a configuration issue within the user's mailbox itself. But the best place to take that question is through the AVST Tech Support Group.
Okay, and then there was a follow-up question to that question. You mentioned the app can be downloaded from the Play Store, but I do not see it in the Play Store. Is there a specific name I should search?
I had searched it. You can search for, to the best of my knowledge, I haven't searched for it for a while because I've already got it on my device. But I believe if you just search for AVST or Call Express, CALLXPRESS, one of those two searches should bring it, should be able to get you to that. If it doesn't, just let us know, and we'll direct you to that. Like I said, it's been a little while since I've actually searched for it, but when I searched for it, I think I just searched for AVST, and it came right up.
Yeah, and we also had somebody else confirm that you can search AVST, and it'll come up.
Yeah.
Okay, another question is there a particular setting on availability or on the device so that calls can come through a certain way?
Well, when you, just because you have installed the mobile client doesn't necessarily mean that it is active at any given time. So probably the first thing to check is have you actually activated the application on your device and logged into the application on your device? And that's the one thing that I get caught in sometimes. Sometimes I turn it on. Sometimes I have it shut off based on the needs of my needs at any given time. And sometimes I forget to turn it back on. So that would be the first place I would check. And again, if it's still not working properly, the best place to take those kind of functionality questions and this is not working the way I expected it to work is through your dealer and through the tech support group, just so that they can check all of the configuration options and make sure that that things are set up properly. That's really their mainline job to do.
Perfect. Well, that looks like that's all the questions that we have. If there's anything that we didn't answer, we will follow up with you separately after the webinar. And again, we thank everyone for joining us. We always appreciate it and look forward to seeing you on another AVST webinar. Dick, did you have anything else you wanted to close with?
No, just the traditional thank you slide. And again, thanking everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And again, if you have any additional questions, feel free to engage us. We want to make sure that that you have a good understanding and full appreciation for all the functions that we offer, not only for mobility, but also for some of the other things that we touched on briefly at the very beginning.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.